Hey guys, this is your host of Lit Literature, JP, aka The Demon. Just want to give you a quick forward. Episode 2 of Words of Radiance. We had a lot of fun in this episode. Energy a bit up. We did have some hilarious issues with miscommunication on reading. So this episode we cover parts 1 and 2, a little bit of part 3, but not all of it. And we will continue that on later. So without further ado, enjoy and cheers.
All right,
Let's cut that out.
all right,
He moved
folks.
closer, and then he yelled.
Thanks for joining us again for Lit Literature. We are now on episode 10, I believe. Woo woo! Episode 10. And again, this is our second episode talking about the Words of Radiance, Book 2
Book 2.
of the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson.
So good.
Real quick, because I missed it last episode, we're going to do a very fast intro and then get talking. This is your host, JP the Demon. On the line from Sunshine, Arizona, we have El Capitan, the captain. Andrew, anything to say?
Cheers, everyone. I just finished a delicious protein-rich chicken meal for my upcoming duel.
Oh shit! Did you remember? Did you remember Mom's amulet?
Chicken rich
I did.
dinner
I
for the
remembered
deal.
Mom's amulet.
I mean the duel.
And I spoke some sweet nothings to my shard blade as well.
Yes, sweet nothings to the sharp.
You better treat her right.
I am. I am, sir.
Renarin comes in. Did you eat your chicken? All right, Cherry.
We've got Cherry, Josh.
Yep.
We call him Cherry because of his beautiful cherry cheeks.
Just joking, by the way. He's not really getting divorced unless Heather listens to these podcasts.
Yeah,
Which I highly doubt because she hates everything nerdy.
including Josh.
Got him! on retainer of the
have
highest
some red
and
jam.
most
It'll make you feel
corruptly dead corpse bride Yasna has the hitman on retainer. Ben,
Hey.
anything to say?
I'm here to keep watch. Make sure you guys don't say anything too close to the truth.
Ooh. And we've got the director.
That's me, Brett Lee. Brett Lee Williams, the director. You can check me out at brettwilliamsfilm.com and at bwilliamsfilm on Twitter.
Good. And then we also have Mickey Mouse sweatered Yasna himself or itself.
Back from the
Oh, what
dead.
the fuck? I don't even know what I am anymore.
Don't assume his gender. Just introduce him.
Yeah, exactly. Don't assume gender.
Oh, what do they call that now? It's something like Z or something like that. Z.
By the way, my name is Manny. I am the Dream. Let's just cut Jeff off now. Help him out. We will be getting enough hate mail from Josh. So.
For everybody upset about the gender discussion, send your hate mail to Josh Armstrong at yahoo.com.
Or JP.
So about the hate mail, we don't care. We don't care.
No, we do
we're
care.
We're
We
not
love
talking.
it.
We're not talking about anything political. We're just being dorks.
Yeah, we're just
so,
being weird.
Anyway, now that we get to it, we've got to talk immediately. We left off last episode talking about Eshonai. We're going straight into shard blades. And I mean, okay, let's put it this way.
Yeah, Jeff, let's talk about your shard blade.
At the end of part 2, my shard blade.
Let's not. Right now it's in mist form.
Yeah.
I'll do my best impression of pattern.
All right. All right, here we go. So anyway, we got to talk about Shallan and her shard blade and the nature of shard blades and her trip to what will be her meeting with Kaladin and eventually Dalinar.
Yes.
Right? So let's keep it brief. We don't need to summarize it. Shallan wakes up on a beach, gets this
She gets the
case
chest.
that Yasna mysteriously, or maybe not mysteriously, as we talked last episode, got out of the room. But anyway, she finds the trunk with all the books and the research.
Which
yada, yada.
just so happened to be waterproof as
And
well.
then she meets the slavers.
Right.
The slavers that enslaved Kaladin and sold him. And basically convinces them to take her to the Shattered Plains. That's the summary that we need.
I
And then
love-
let's talk about her development. Go ahead,
The one we deserve.
Captain.
I love that section because there's several 3 or 4 chapters of cat and mouse between the slavers and the supposed bandit groups who are kind of chasing after him. And there's this real level of tension that Sanderson does an excellent job creating, where Shallan is put in an interesting circumstance because, you know, they're trying to outrun these potential bandits, but she needs to impose her Yesna-like confidence and authority over them, and it's kind of an interesting play.
What did Yesna say? She said, "Power." We've heard this in several books, including Game of Thrones. Right? Power is perception, and she plays to that. And Yesna is the one who taught it to her. Right? So that's pretty boss.
Well, I am a boss, so.
It is true. It's kind of, I mean, you do have to, I mean, I believe in that. Like, if you put forth that you're supposed to be, so like that one guy that just hopped on the football field after they won the like World Cup or something, or won the championship, and he just took a picture with them because they saw him and he was confident, and they were like, oh, he's supposed to be here.
Yep.
You know, it's like you put forth the era and people will just
This happens every day in corporate
Believe it.
America too. When you go into a meeting.
Accept it, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm seriously. This one thing I
Yeah.
learned. I go into a meeting. I just pretend not to be so young and naive.
Yeah. Exactly.
But anyway, to get to this, so we've got certain instances that happen right on her adventure. The first thing is that she needs to persuade this kind of ragtag group that we know them from Kaladin's trip in the first book, right? To take her to the Shattered Plains, and she does it well. She's like, "You take me, trust me. It's in your benefit. Now be quiet and do it."
And
But
just-
they kind of believe her and they kind of don't, right? So, you know, he lies to her about the shoes and all that stuff. She's got bloody feet from walking around on the rocks. And then there was also, they find bandits that are chasing him, as the captain pointed out a little earlier. And now they get into a circumstance where there's a bandit in front of them getting attacked.
Yeah.
Then the bandits are catching up. And Shallan realizes she's going to take matters into her own hands, which is a pretty boss moment for her. It's probably the first moment, I think, in the books that she kind of like rises to her potential.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she rides out to the bandits, and she literally persuades them to help
Save
the
them.
bandits, instead of killing her group, to come and save the other group, which will allow them all to travel together on one big.
And there's
happy
someone very
family.
interesting also in that group.
Yes, there is.
Gaz.
Who's been missing for a little while.
Good old Gaz.
With his constant twitch that he has to the right.
Good old Gaz is back.
Yeah.
I don't know why you said good old. I fucking hate him.
Come on, man. He was in debt in doing his job.
He was a tool.
You kind of remain.
Yeah, I mean, he
So,
was being used.
we
to do
find
a
out
job.
that-
All of that's true.
Yeah. So we find out that when Gaz's old commander gets assassinated or executed. Yeah. By Sadius, he stayed for a little
Laurel.
bit and then booked it. Said,
Nice.
screw the debts. Let's get the hell out of here.
So he's not quite as dumb as we thought.
But you could tell there's a hint of good man in Gaz because he was very open to Shallan's trial number 2.
Become back. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Better.
Very open to trial number 2. So Shallan persuades these guys basically by using some of her illusion powers, which, by the way, that's a Brett bet, and it's a hilarious Brett bet because I was just editing the podcast episode, and Manny literally said the most insightful fucking things about Shallan's power ever. He's literally, this is like in episode 2, he's literally like, I really feel like she has this ability to impact people, to maybe like change their abilities or to change their way of thought and get them to
Influence
do
them.
these things.
Yeah.
And then Brett's like, but does that depend on Stormlight? Does that depend on Stormlight, Manny? Is the power, and then Brett basically convinced Manny to change his Brett bet outcome, which was Shallan does not have Stormlight critical powers.
Fuck my life.
And then I made my Brett
then
bet
Brett
the
made
opposite
his.
of him.
So we will.
How devious, Brett.
Yes.
That
So
was not on purpose. I'm not that smart.
So this episode was making me laugh so hard because I was listening to Manny say some very insightful things, and I will say that Manny and Andrew are gonna have to not right now, but we're gonna do it later on. They're gonna have to take their Brett bet on the
Yes.
fact that Shallan
Does
does
use
in fact
Stormlight.
have Stormlight powers.
Nice. So make sure to keep an eye out for that on the Facebook page.
Yeah,
and,
we're gonna load that up there. We're gonna see some shots and a few push-ups.
Also, if you've been listening, anytime that you're partaking in Brett bets with us,
you have to do
vote
it.
against me.
And we definitely encourage you, if you do the Brett bet with us, post it up on our Facebook.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
That's a good
Film
idea.
yourself doing it.
Yeah.
Post it up underneath the original post where we post the Brett bet.
And feel free to add Brett bets of your own.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
for sure.
Yeah. So
we
anyway,
go.
we'll move to this point, but conversation around this. Now we've got a big topic. There's a lot of conversations. Shallan goes through a lot of growth.
Yeah.
She finds out that she has the power of illusion. Mm-hmm. We find out that she has a shard blade. She's being taught by somebody named Tin, who's part of the group that murdered Yasna.
The ghost.
Yeah.
And she ends up murdering her.
Yeah.
And then we get to the point where she gets into the war camp. And so anything and any of that segment of information and time.
I just want to go real quick. It
Yeah.
seems really interesting that Shallan, like, she goes from Yasmin to this Tin, and she like almost tries to become like them.
Another
She
ward, yeah.
became a scholar,
Yeah.
learned all these scholarly skills. And then she went to Tin, and now she's learning sleight of hand, how to do accents and
Yeah.
like speak different languages. I'm just really curious to see if she gets another master and she starts like picking
Emulating
up more
them.
skills.
She's
seems
almost
to-
becoming like a jack of all
Okay,
trades.
yeah.
And
you
she
know?
has this hunger for learning, and
A
what's great is that it's
doppelganger.
not just this learning for it's not
Books.
just learning books or scholarly. She wants to learn everything
learning.
and anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which will be a great
I
asset
just think
later.
this later book should just be amazing.
And even though Tin ended up not
Being great.
being a great person to be with, and it didn't turn out fantastically. Like, it was very good that she came across her, though, because she's already used skills that she learned from
Yes.
Tin to her advantage.
Yes, agreed. And
The
not to-
con.
Yeah, the art of the con.
the art of the con, yeah. And the other cool thing that she got from Tin, I think, is it finally her situation with Tin finally made her snap.
Yeah.
It made her say, "Fuck this! I'm going to town and I'm doing this shit."
Yeah, I mean, I
Like-
don't know if it was exactly. I forget exactly where this comes in, but at one point, doesn't she say, like, because before we were just talking about it, how she's talking about, oh, I have to feign this confidence, oh, I have to pretend to be this leader. And then, like, sometime during her time with Tin, or maybe it was right after she
It was
killed
actually
Tin.
when Tin was trying to kill her.
Yeah.
And when she gets up and she just says, "I'm not being that weak person anymore."
But,
she's like, "I will not."
And then directly
be.
after that, she's in another situation, and she straight up says, oh, I don't have to pretend anymore.
Yep.
She's like,
I
I am this person that I've been trying to pretend I am now.
So she grew. She grew a ton. Dude.
Yeah.
So we find out she does, in
Yeah,
fact, have a
big
shard
time.
blade. So let's talk a little bit about where we think this shard blade has its origin.
yeah.
During that
Solange.
brief intermission we had, me and Josh were talking. I believe it was in the first episode of where it came from when her mother died mysteriously with a lover. We don't know if it was her killing them or.
We do know there wasn't a lot of blood. And
Yeah.
that there was
I
not
thought there was a
much
lot
eyes
of
left.
blood.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that.
Shallan actually describes it.
Wasn't this called the night of the white carpet or the red carpet once white?
But yeah, I thought it was the carpet was once white.
Is that what you're
Yeah.
referencing?
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of blood.
So
I
there
thought
was a
there
lot
was
of
a lot.
blood.
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of blood too.
But Shallan describes her mom's death
Yeah.
as being with little blood and with weird eyes.
I don't remember
Oh,
that.
really?
But she describes her being a lot of blood on
Boy, in the first book, right?
somebody else that was in the room.
Yeah. Anyways, after the fact, well, we can't figure out.
We're gonna look it up.
we'll
We're gonna look it
We'll
up.
look into that later. But for sure, she keeps seeing this glowing something behind a painting in a
There's a
secret vault,
chest.
a vault or chest, and she keeps referring to it as the mother's soul. Not
So-
that chest.
No.
But
I don't remember this part.
could it be possible? So one of the
It's
things
real
we
bad.
kind of speculate.
They look at
Yeah.
they look
is-
at it all the time, including the father.
And
Looks at
one
it.
thing we speculate,
But-
is it possible that the shard blade is maybe her mother's soul, or has something to do with how her mother... Well, we know it has something to do with how her mother died, or we're pretty certain. But one theory is, could the shard blade be her mother's soul?
I really
is
like
there.
this theory because as I brought up last season or last book, I was talking about the origin of shard blades and stuff like that, and how I think it might be the actual Spren. So like Kaladin and Syl, and I was thinking like the Stormfather, how he says, "Oh, you're eventually going to kill her. You're going to kill her." So I was thinking maybe they turn their Spren, pairings into these shard blades.
Yeah.
And if you obviously the first person, it seems to be a symbiotic relationship, but like if you get rid of that, then they're almost like dead or enslaved, and that's why it's such a blasphemy once it moved on from the Radiance. But but what Josh said in the break, there's also a lot of interesting information that it could possibly be like souls or something from past people
But
in your life.
Also, they refer to one time she was just zoned out in that hallway, and she was like staring at the light, and one of her brothers came, and she's like, "Do you see that light down there?"
No, he was wondering when she's like staring
Oh,
at the
yeah.
wall, and she's like, "Don't you see the light?"
Yeah, something. But he
The
does not
gambler
see
brother,
It.
right?
Yeah, he doesn't see it, but she does, and
He thinks
it's
she's crazy.
connected, or like
Yep.
somehow like bonded to it already.
Do you guys think that it could be somehow like a Horcrux type situation where like to bridge the gap between like just having a Spren and actually turning it into this like item requires some type of like sacrifice, like you have to kill something or
dude.
something like that?
I was kind of like also when I was reading those chapters you were talking about, I was thinking, is this Ben gonna sacrifice himself and die to become the Shard Blade?
Right.
And one thing that's kind of interesting though is they even in Shallan kind of recognizes this. She says at one point she's looking and she says the light behind the painting, and one of her brothers says, "You're going crazy. Did seeing your mother die kill you?" And Shallan keeps staring into the light. There hid a monster. There hid Mother's soul. So that's something interesting too. When we're trying to refer to, she's referring to her mother's soul as this monster, but that's also seems to be the kind of the same way that the Spren talk about the shard blades. Like these are these abhorrent like items. These are like the definition of the betrayal, or these are these terrible things.
Well, that could also be why they react like maybe the Spren, because you were talking about before, like, oh, I don't necessarily see the Radiance as the good guys, because I don't know if it's misunderstood because humans and the Spren are all reacting to them in a negative way. But what if they're reacting to them in a negative way for different reasons? Like the humans think that they betrayed them, but the Spren see it as like, oh, they took these items that was supposed to be like a mutual relationship and just abandoned them and enslaved them, and now these Spren are all dead or enslaved because of the Radiance.
What you're talking about is the shard blade, not necessarily the Radiance. Because what Syl's talking about is the blade. But I don't think she has anything against the Radiance. In fact, she encourages Kaladin to tell
I thought you
Dalinar
said
that he's
before
a
So
Radiant.
what I was actually saying was that
Yeah, that's
last
true.
episode, yeah.
Pattern is afraid of the Radiance.
Oh, Pattern is.
Syl is not, but the thing about
He
it is
is.
it may have a lot less to do with the Radiance. Pattern says that like you'll kill me. That's what you'll do. And then the Stormfather has a different perspective. Syl is a little bit more free with it. She's encouraging him to be a Radiant. She's not afraid of the Radiance. What I think she is afraid of is she says, "Don't. Those are evil." She calls shard blades evil.
But they weren't before when they were with the Radiance. She said they're abominations now,
Now.
but they're not.
They were not before.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
why
So
I
the
keep
point,
thinking
the
that
point
they're
I'm
somehow
making is the
connected
Radiance
with-
did something bad at some point. And
Right.
it was bad to the Spren, and it was bad to humans in different ways.
Right.
And they're both perceived as doing something bad. We don't know that they're the same. They
So
could
my
be very different.
my theory is and I said it before, but my theory was just the fact that maybe they are Spren and they take like the shard blade form, but they can turn into mist. And we've heard Syl described as like misting in front of Kaladin's face. So I wonder if that's like why they can summon them and unsummon them. And maybe the fact that she thinks they're abominations now is because, like I said, they were abandoned. They're no longer with the person that they
What I thought
made
is
the pact with.
Yeah, that's what mine is kind of like that as well. But I
Interesting.
feel like she thinks it's an abomination because the initial becoming of a Shardblade is not necessarily an abomination, but getting transferred from a person to another person is, because that's not the person that they made
the pact with.
That's
right.
what I think it is.
Exactly.
As well. I don't think
Right,
necessarily
yeah.
the Radiance actually did something.
If you
bad.
were to think that, so what do you think, Brett? Exactly.
I don't know. I think that there's lots of possibilities.
So
I think that it is possible that the shard blades are somehow like connected to the Spren. I feel like somebody at some point I know said like that some escaped the mass like murder of the Spren. Like we're the like last few. I think Pattern said that at some point, where we're like the only ones left. Like some of us were able to escape.
Yeah.
So what
the
do you think that
Stormfire.
mass?
Yeah.
What do you think that mass murderer was?
I don't know.
You think
Odium. No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
you think it's the same reckoning that happened when the what did they call that event when the
Day of Recreance.
the Day of Recreance, that was it. Do you think that was the mass murdering?
Yep.
Oh, is that the day?
Dross, you think that?
Is that the flashback of the Radiance when they all put their shard
That
blades
was
down?
the
That was the day of Recreance.
Yeah, when they all gave up their
So
shards.
what do
yeah.
you think happened there?
I don't know if it's necessarily a mass murder, but maybe a mass enslavement. Like maybe they're trapped into these forms
But
now.
who called it a
because-
mass murder? It was a Spren that called it that.
Oh yeah, was
Who
it
did?
Pattern?
I don't remember that.
I don't remember a Spren calling it a mass murder.
I'm just.
I thought was that in the
You
same
said-
was that in the same chapter that he said I don't know if he said a mass murder, but I remember a chapter and I thought it was Pattern where he said some of us escaped.
I think
Yeah,
that
he
was.
does.
There's very
He
few
does say that
alive.
some of us
Yeah.
escaped, but I think that has to do something with Shadesmar or like the cognitive world, not necessarily having to do anything with
Well,
human past.
and we also have to know, Yasna said at some point that for every like warrior that was probably could potentially have been using them as like a sharp blade, there were 2 or 3 others that were going towards scholarly work, healing,
Right,
and
right.
helping people. So those Spren we wouldn't assume were something that was dropped and kind of turned into something. Those ones could have easily just been like, well, I'm abandoning.
Right.
But don't you feel like what Syl is upset about is they made a pact with the humans to become these shard blades? I'm guessing this is my
if that's true.
yeah, if that's true, so that they could help defeat the Voidbringers, right?
Yeah.
And I think Odium is like the one that's coming in the 36 days or 60 days or whatever, and that's the
67 days from the first vision.
Oh
Right.
yeah, but
Oh.
like now, she's like they're supposed to defend against that. He's like pure evil or whatever. But also, I feel like what thing is that she considers an abomination is originally they made themselves shard blades to defend against the Voidbringers and the Desolation, but when the Radiance gave them up, people were using them to kill each other,
Yeah.
or people were killing each
I
other
feel
to
the
try to.
same way.
That
revenge
could
them.
also go back, like the purpose, the intent. That could go back to what Syl was saying about when she potentially drained all the Stormlight from Kaladin. Who are you protecting? What's the purpose? That kind of
Yeah.
goes back to that whole idea.
Oh,
Possibly.
62 days.
I'm an honor sprint, and if you're not doing something
Right.
honorable,
So were they robbed of their ability
They're
to
robbed of their ability to input where
Well,
their power goes.
in that particular vision that Dalinar had, they all abandoned they stuck them in the ground, dropped their plate, and walked away.
And then
Right.
when they stuck the blades in the ground, they
So-
lost the shine. Of
They
the,
lost the shine.
Like they lost something, like the
they didn't glow anymore.
glow.
So we'll have to find
So
a little
were
bit
they
out
trapped
about
in
this,
it?
but
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of speculation that if they do have to do with Spren, that might be the reason that Spren are afraid of humans, and that's also why maybe humans are afraid of the Radiance.
And why the Stormfather keeps saying,
Yeah.
you will kill him.
And I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I don't think the Spren are afraid of humans. I think they just don't trust them anymore. Like,
Yeah,
they don't
good,
like.
good correction.
Right,
That's
right,
good
right.
correction.
Like
Yeah.
they betrayed us. Let's not make that oath again. This
Exactly.
did not work out for us.
So,
Wait, but before we move on, I'm sorry.
oh no, you're good. Dude. You're good.
Continuing with what Josh says about Shallan and seeing the light, and that's her mother's soul. Something that I thought, like, this is how I interpreted that, but that's just me because I'm crazy. I feel like the mother's death, I don't know if Shallan's father or her mother is the one that had a sharp blade originally, but the father, I think, ran into the mom who was with her lover, kills the guy, and then kills the mom with a sharp blade, or kills her steals her shard blade and kills her, and then he hides the shard blade, and that's what she sees behind the painting.
That's what she's thinking of. As
So
his
that she's
mother's
like,
soul.
and then she took that shard blade and killed her father, which is why she doesn't like summoning the shard blade because it reminds her of her mother's death.
There's
a
one
really
thing I
good
want
point.
to come up because I had this theory.
Interesting.
And I forgot about it too right then. That Shaolin, she killed both the lover and her mom, and it was because her father confronted them, and she got scared, and she soul cast. And what happened was, she ended up turning her mother into a shard blade.
Oh. Dang, Ben.
All right.
And then she sees it, and that's why
Interesting.
it glows for her. That's why
She's the only one who can see it because even her brothers couldn't see it. Like, what are you staring
Yeah.
at? And she's like, mother's soul. But he's like, I'm the only one who's not crazy here anymore.
And she just, it wasn't like anything conscious. It was just like some freak accident that happened, and it worked out that way. Like,
That's
she
a good
forged-
theory.
into
So
a
we have
shard
to
blade.
then
Wrap that
do
down.
some kind of a break bet on this, and it doesn't have to be that complex.
I mean, I would just be rolling the dice, but I
think
want to
that-
say yes just because I
I
love it
think
so
the
much.
Brett could be is the
Did
the
Shalon
shard
kill
blade,
her mom?
or is the shard blade
In
have
any
to do
way.
something with her mom? That's a bit more open.
But I think that's
Yeah, that's
that we're
pretty
all
open,
going to
yeah.
say in some way yes. I think that if she soul cast her mom into a shard blade, that counts as killing her mom.
That's basically murder. Yeah.
So what I say is, did she kill her? That's what we need to put. We need to take that break bet on because is her mom a shard blade? That's
Really specific.
That's really specific.
And it's just a crazy thing.
And then if you can leave it too open, is the shard blade have something to do with her mom? I think you're going to get everyone to just going to be like, probably. So
Yeah.
the real question is, did her mom die by Shalon's hands?
Yeah. I'm gonna just go ahead and say yes that she soul cast
'Cause of the soul
or
cast
something that it was.
I like it.
She was the one who killed them both.
Interesting.
I'm gonna
We
say.
can participate in this.
Oh, good.
Oh,
It's about
finally.
time. Excellent. I'm gonna say yes, just because I get the feeling. I'm not sure. I really love Ben's theory. I'm not sure if that's the reason, but I'm gonna say yes anyway, and I hope that's the reason.
Manny?
It's one of the things I brought up was Patton kind of knew what happened. Like
Yeah.
good memories of that time.
Pattern does remember that.
And she's like,
I have my doubts about Shalon soul casting in earlier on because she was so freaked out by it, like the time when she does it in her room.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that made it the shard
But
blade,
she,
she'd
like-
probably know that she
She
did
did it, and she would
Yeah.
know that she's able to do it
Except she
without.
blocked all that out of her
That's a good
mind.
point.
Yeah,
She does seem good at that.
I know. Yeah, like that's possible, but I don't think so. I don't think she soul cast her mother.
But do you think that
does she
she
kill her
had a
mother?
hand in the killing of her mom? That it was
Killed
done
her,
by
not had a hand, just killed.
Killed her.
But Manny, take your initial thought and do the opposite. And
Yeah.
you win.
No, I'm gonna say that I don't believe Shalon killed her.
Oh, I'm feeling really
I'm
good
gonna
about my bet now.
I'm gonna go with Manny. I do not
my
think
life.
that Shalon killed her mother.
Yeah. I don't think it was intentional.
Bold bet.
But
Yeah.
I think she
The demon thinks that she fucking murdered her mom. Straight up and hardcore.
Straight up
Dang.
and hard.
She's like, I hate you, Mom.
Dang. Straight up and hardcore.
What did Andrew
difference
bet?
maker.
Jeff's not being politically correct at all.
Yeah.
He's like, that bitch fucking killed her. We can
Andrew, what did you
bet?
You know, man, I don't know. I feel like I'm making an extremely uneducated guess here, but
Oh,
I'm
there with you,
I'm
buddy.
I'm thinking of maybe just going on the bold side and allying with Manny and Josh, just because
Just to make it 3-3.
We're seeing more and more evidence that the Spren are directly linked to the Shard Blades, and
yeah.
Shalon's father, I think they might just be setting up his character to have some kind of a major flaw where it wasn't like there wasn't a lot of blame on Shallan's part. It's going to be more on his end of the spectrum. So I'm thinking I'll put in all my chips with Manny and Josh on this one.
Dark eyes stick
do-
together.
Dark eyes, yes.
I do want to say though that I'm not 100% sure that the Spren being shard blades is in direct opposition to this.
Opposition to
Because
agree.
it could just be some type of soul, and maybe they see or
But
something like
what
that.
I'm really betting on is that Shallan just murdered. her
Yeah,
mom.
that's true.
Well, that's true. That's true. Because
it.
I hope that Ben's other theory is correct because it's
That
so
theory,
fun.
we left it out there, and we are gonna have an awesome celebration.
I know, because
If that theory comes out true, we're gonna have a celebration because that's so.
But I also
specific.
feel like they make it way too obvious.
Yeah.
It seems like the dad is the likely suspect
because it's
for
really
the mom's
I
death.
do
Yeah,
believe
yeah.
Does anybody else feel that way?
I feel it's
That's
too
like what
obvious.
they're- what you're supposed to feel,
I
right?
personally feel that the reason that
Yeah.
the dad is so messed up is he's actually covering
For Shallan.
Yeah.
That's what I feel.
Dude, that makes her killing him though even more tragic.
It does.
that makes her so
It does.
sinister.
Yeah.
No. She's not trying to be sinister in any of this. I guarantee you. I guarantee you that it was
I mean, yeah.
a fluke fuck up that had her killing her mom. This is what I think. But it's even a more fluke that eventually it twisted her dad so much, taking the accusations for killing the mom and defending Shallan the whole time. And then it ended up Shallan defending her brothers that ended up killing her dad. And that's what I think. I think that the dad is a piece of shit, but he was twisted because
He's his piece of shit that still loved his daughter.
still loved his daughter.
yeah.
But
And
loved his
actually,
daughter.
I think he still loved his kids too. But he
But-
was just a.
What about the
How
oldest
did
one?
that be though? To be
Even
a
the
dad who
oldest.
loves your daughter
I think he loved him.
that killed your wife. How would that be delivered with?
Because I think that Shallan, it had
he knew
something
it was
to do
on
with the
accident?
lover. I think it had something to do with the other lover. And I think that it had to do with Shallan, the other lover. I don't know yet. But this is my theory.
And my feeling was really weird because
baby.
I do believe the Spren.
I'm so glad book 3's out.
But I just feel like that happened too. Like they made something new.
Dude, all right. We gotta move on from this anyway. So we gotta
We
put
have
a bet on
perfect
this.
3 and 3.
Yeah, we have a perfect bet. 3
Yeah.
versus 3.
Bet.
All right. So the next thing we gotta get to is Zeth's visit
Oh, yes.
to good old Dalinar Kholin in the castle. And
Okay, so
it's-
we're at
yes.
the
so
point.
so all right, Shallan. Okay, she
I
she
jumped the
goes
gun
through her
in
growth.
one
Blah blah blah.
last
We'll talk
episode.
about their meeting later, but we got to talk about Zeth. We got to. Zeth comes to kill Dalinar, but everybody thinks he comes to kill Elokar.
Yes.
And
Wait, let me ask you guys because I think I missed this. Did we know that beforehand?
we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
We did, yeah.
I'm dumb then because I'm sitting there and as soon as he's like, I'm here to kill you, Dalinar, and I'm like, I was like, oh snap! I'm so glad I forgot that part
Yeah.
because it was so cool.
Yeah, at the end of the first book, the king of Cabaranth or whatever.
Yep, says he didn't want to.
Oh, that's
Turban
right.
Gene.
That's right.
Yeah. He
Sure,
concocted
Vingian.
that whole plot.
Yeah.
He was the mastermind.
That's right. Oh, I'm really glad I forgot that because it was really cool to just be like, oh shit.
So they were sending
snap moment for
away as he was screaming like a
Little
Go ahead, Drass.
bitch.
Yeah, they were sending
you guys
Elokar
can go.
away like as he was.
You guys
We got a lag situation going down.
Okay.
Drass, you go first because we got our internet lag going on. So you hit it.
Oh, you guys can go. I'll I'll take the back seat on this discussion.
All right. So Elokar gets sent away, and literally he's sent away, and then he's screaming, "He came for me finally, just like my dad!" He's run away like this guy, and then Dalinar and Kaladin and Adolin stay behind, and Dalinar very smartly, although it offended Renarin. Renarin, thank you.
You audiobook, bro.
I know, dude. Renarin is killing me. So anyway, they send Renarin away, and you could tell he just hates it. He hates it, and it stinks for
It's a
him.
good decision, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And also, just in case he is coming for the king,
He needs someone to defend.
You
him.
need somebody with a shard blade back there to defend him. So,
Yeah.
good move. But Adolin, Kaladin, and Dalinar decide to fight Zeth. Fucking awesome. The problem is that Zeth's actually looking for Dalinar, which means that his target
Is
decided
staying.
to stay and,
And
fight
doesn't
him.
and no longer has shard
So
plate.
awesome. And isn't
Shard
wearing
blade.
shard plate. It has no plate and no blade. Oh, shit. Oh.
Josh, your laugh was so hilarious.
So I
very
got to admit
pattern-esque.
here, I was very proud of how they handled it.
Yeah.
Personally, Dalinar again showing his extreme awesomeness
Yeah.
by immediately taking the other spearman's spear.
Yeah.
Knowing he needs range, he's just like an instinctual badass in every way possible.
Not every way.
It
Almost
did
every-
not
Only in battle.
matter.
He's pretty good strategically too.
He's not very good
Politically,
politically.
he's not very good politically.
He's getting there.
And then again, you would argue
will help
that
with
you would
that.
argue that with the fact that he's basically the king. He is.
He basically is kind of.
He is the king. Basically.
But we get some facts counter to that at the very end of part 3.
Yes,
Where
yes.
the king is just like, nah, fuck this, I'm the king.
Yeah, he finally said it. Although that would be a giant mistake to do that to Dalinar, but at the same time, you're right. He can.
I agree.
But anyway, so Zeth comes in. He finally makes it after we have all this news of the assassin in white murdering all these guys. Kaladin starts freaking out because of Syl. Syl's like giving him a warning, but is it real? Like, was it all coincidence, or was it that he sensed Zeth? That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because Syl didn't really understand what was going on.
Why she was scared.
But she sensed something wrong. And unfortunately, we lost a few Bridge 4 members.
But
Yeah.
didn't he just wake up from a dream? And
Dalinar
what
did.
happened? No, Kaladin.
Kaladin just
Kaladin?
woke up from a dream.
And something happened. It's like he got a premonition from the dream, and then
Yes,
still
he
saw the
ran.
action
You're right.
funny.
Actually, you're right. He ran all the way to the camp, right?
No.
Something like that? No?
that
he was already there.
another time
Oh,
he was
yeah,
in the
right. That
room
was
go-
the bridge. The
he was in the
balcony
room
time.
with Adolin,
But he was dozing.
and they made fun of him for sleeping.
Yeah, gotcha.
And he woke up and was like, "What's happening?" And then Syl is wheeled, and then he just ran over to the king.
And he knew. But so he gets him out of there, and then they fight, right? So pretty badass. We find out
Yeah,
again,
Zeth is a fucking beast.
Is a beast.
Did we learn, I mean, granted, there were no other shard blades in this fight, right?
Adolin
Adolin
Adolin.
had his shard blade.
Adolin.
So, but other than Adolin, we learned
Adolin.
that. I mean, I'm interested to see what
He's
Kaladin's
awesome.
gonna do if he ever gets a shard blade someday.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, I hope
So-
so. But
He's gonna get that fly shard blade.
we definitely learned that Kaladin, probably one of the greatest warriors that we have seen, one of the best fighters that we've seen so far, was
today.
severely undermatched against Seth. Like,
Seth made him look like a fool.
he just looked
made-
like a ragdoll.
He made
Yeah.
Adolin look like a fool.
He made
too.
Adolin look like a fool, and
Yeah.
Adolin's fucking dope. we
Yeah.
learned.
And Dalinar.
Like he,
And
but
Dalinar.
did Dalinar have his shard blade?
No.
no, because he doesn't.
You
have one right
literally,
now.
it was Zeth versus the three best combat
fighters, yeah.
fighters, like
That we know.
ever.
But only one had his shard blade.
That's true. That's true. But
Right.
But still, one should be enough. 1 versus 1.
Yeah.
I mean, he
With two
looked-
supporting from a distance with spears.
And then
Exactly.
this gives us a little insight as to remember that scene in the other book where Zeth was just beating the shit out of 3 shard bearers,
Yeah.
a bunch of guys with shard shields.
Shields.
Just he put his shard away and beat the crap out of them with that martial arts style that the
Oh, that's true.
And the
he doesn't
lashing.
even need his blade.
Well, he was using the lashings too. He's
Yeah.
like touching everyone,
He
making
used
the
the
fucking
lashings,
tables go
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
But he's clearly on another level, and this is what makes Kaladin realize that he's on another level.
Yeah.
He realizes, he watches Zeth do this stuff, and he's like,
This is what I could
have
do.
those abilities. And this guy,
But I need to be able to control him like this guy.
this
Yeah.
guy,
Yeah.
if it wasn't for this
Scene,
yeah.
fight,
Yeah.
Kaladin may have never achieved what he is now, and who knows what he
Yeah.
would do later.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, this was like the sight that Kaladin needed to see somebody who was just,
This is the rude
Yeah.
awakening.
yeah.
But
As-
then at the end of that scene, once they fall through the balcony, Seth starts freaking out.
Yes. I was gonna say
After
I
Kaladin-
don't think
so
as
Kaladin-
important as that was.
Yeah,
I don't
no.
think it was the most important
So-
thing in
No,
the
that-
scene.
Listen, Kaladin
That
gets.
end.
So
The
Zeth
ending.
actually cuts his arm.
Oh, that. Yeah, we'll talk about
Zeth
that.
cuts his arm.
Oh,
That's what
okay,
starts
okay.
this whole thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So Zeth cuts his arm, and Kaladin realizes his arm's
can't use
dead. So he grabs onto Zeth as they're launched out the window.
And just a little sidebar, I was so sad because I wasn't obviously seeing what coming, and I was just like, oh man, now he's gonna be like Lupin or whatever the guy's name. Like he's just gonna have this dangling fucking arm.
I had a feeling that he was going to
God, Joe.
recover.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I felt like it, but then I was just like, oh, I'm not sure because there's also like a flashback with a guy with one arm. I'm like, maybe one arm's like really important in this world. I have no idea.
but Ben's right? So he falls out and he gets separated from Zeth and falls all the way. And
Yeah.
basically any normal person would be dead as
Would be
fuck.
dead, yeah.
But he had enough stormlight
But
that
he stole some.
He stole it
He
from
stole it from
Right.
Zeth.
Did he?
yeah,
I missed that.
As they
So
were
he-
falling.
as they were falling, he stole it from Zeth, and then also his arm was still fucked.
Yeah.
And so then he starts to like absorb more and more, and he starts to feel this like block
Tingling.
Yeah.
in his arm, and then the tingling comes in, and it bursts in there, and the gray
And he
goes
gets the
away.
color.
And then that's what
Duke. The color.
Yeah, that's what Zeth sees that freaks him out because he sees Kaladin
Right.
absorbing the stormlight,
Yes.
and then he freaks out and says exactly what Ben said, what Brett said. You called me truthless.
Yeah, they called me truthless.
That I was the only one.
Yeah.
Which kind of possibly reveals we cannot quite
The Brett bet.
the Brett bet. It possibly reveals a Brett bet. So I just want to bring attention to it, but I don't think we have 100% confirmation yet. But if he's freaking out and he's saying, oh, he needed proof that, oh, they called me truthless and they were wrong and I was doing all this shit because I was truthless, then most likely he's probably not bound by magic.
It's a moral.
It's a moral code.
It's his own mind.
Yeah.
Which is another bet
Or a
that
cultural
Manny is
code or
on
something like that.
like the borderline of loss. I mean, unless something amazing
I think I was
happens,
with Manny on this
You
one.
are.
So.
You are. Yes.
But we don't have 100% yet, so I ain't drinking shit.
Yeah. We're waiting for full confirmation on this. But
And then-
there's
Yes.
a lot of evidence that indicates that Zeth is definitely not magically bound.
But there's another Brett bet that we possibly have the answer to with Zeth. And I
Yeah.
don't remember if this is during one of the pre-episodes we did or if this is during one
It
of
was
the
during the
was it during the
actual-
actual
yeah.
episode? So if we believe Syl, if Syl knows, if we say that she is in authority on this, then Zeth's blade, or Zeth does not have a sprint.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's another one
The
that we
powers
learned.
come from his blade, which Jeff said.
Yes.
Yes.
It's an honor blade.
Is
They,
not
well,
blade,
I didn't
most
call
likely.
it that, but they called it that, which is
Isha and I
apparently
called it that.
different.
We
Eshonai.
left.
Eshonai.
Ash and I left the blade. I read, so I.
Josh is like,
I'm a reader.
No, it's funny. He said
Josh
that,
is trying to
and
speak Japanese.
I repeated.
I forgive him.
It's
Eshonai.
funny too because everybody that actually reads instead of audiobooks is
It's gonna
gonna
be
like the things that I say about pattern. They're gonna be like, "What is wrong with this guy?"
Amazing.
Ooh, that's a good lie.
Such a good voice.
It is. It's so great.
Such a good voice. You're
Such a creep.
Yeah.
I know. He reminds me of like a little perv in the corner.
No,
He's like,
but-
I need more lies.
But anyway, to this point, Eshonai calls it an honor blade, and that's
Yeah.
a big thing because I didn't call it that, but it was different, and that could have been subliminal because I
but
had
she's-
read the books before.
Uh-huh.
Subliminal.
Subliminal.
That could have been like a little bit innate, but I didn't remember that.
Well,
but
what she says is she actually says we left an honor blade in Alethi.
Yeah.
So that we just immediately like, well, they left Zeth.
Right.
So that's probably what that is, and that
Right.
puts a
But it
clear
can also just be what we're
difference.
supposed
But
to
also, they say that all his powers come from the blade.
Right.
that's
So
what-
that's I'm
what-
pretty sure I
that's what
lost.
Syl
that one.
is insinuating, but there's not factual base yet. So I don't know. I think that we're 99% like proved in that
No.
sense, but I don't think that we're that close.
I don't think it's
yet.
99. I think it's maybe 90.
90.
Yeah.
Okay, 90.
I'm gonna say 91.
So I
Such a fucker.
But I want to know if, because you've been quiet on this, do you have any thoughts on this, Captain?
As far, what was the question? As far as
We're on right now. We're on Zeth. Zeth's blade.
Has Andrew been listening to us?
I have.
Well, we did cover a lot of things since he spoke last.
Yeah, the lag seems to be a little bit of an issue for me right now. Are you guys hearing that?
It's all good.
So what?
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think about Seth's blade and his skills, and if he has a
Spren or not?
A spren?
Do you think that this is pretty definitive evidence that he doesn't have a spren, or do you think there's still possibility he has a spren?
There's probably a possibility that he does, but in all likelihood, he probably does not. I think that maybe there's something to do with his order that, specifically that he's truthless, that speaks to his inability to like either bond with Spren or to have like a genuine. They do reference that he can acquire a shard blade if he wants. It would just slow him down if he had one. But I don't know. I'm thinking that maybe it's.
Wait, what do you mean by that? If he acquires a shard blade, so
Yeah, I don't remember
dual
that.
wield.
No, that's what he means.
Yeah, dual
that's
wield.
what Andrew.
Like, yeah, he could have got the plate, but he didn't want the plate. I
Yeah, he
know.
didn't want the
plate
plate because
would
it
slow him
interferes
down.
with his
Okay.
slashing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Shard,
okay.
shard
That's
plate.
what it was.
But,
I messed up.
Can he have a
the
sharp blade
the
on
plate
the
and
blade?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would say I'm just gonna go out on a hunch and say that he's a special case. There's no spren associated with it. I know that Zeth does have some kind of a relationship with creatures or people in different realms because he saw, for example, he saw Kaladin in that one crazy dream vision that he had, the storm vision.
Yeah.
But I don't think that his weaponry is related to the Sprens at all.
That's something I want to say then. I think Jeff was right that Zeth's blade is one of the original
One of the Herald blades.
Herald blades, because all the powers, like the soul casters and everything, is imitations of what the Heralds could do. And also, just because Zeth can't do it yet, I think he doesn't realize that he could do it. Just like Kaladin couldn't realize he could wall walk and like almost fly away, that he hasn't discovered all the powers the blade has given him.
That's pretty good.
So he can get stronger too.
Well, here's something pretty interesting too: is we don't even know is Kaladin. Do we know all of his powers? Because it seems that we just know one, and that's the surge binding.
We don't know his second power yet.
What
So,
his second one is.
I think that Kaladin has found
It
it.
might be something to do with the storms and riding the storms. But
So
Oh, yeah, that could be a
we,
possibility.
well, are you talking? So we do know. Well, okay. Here's the thing. Kaladin has the ability to stick things, but he also has the ability to flip point of gravity.
no,
Right.
Oh, that's the
Those are the
same move.
same.
That's lashing.
Yeah, that's the lashing,
It's
right?
not the same.
It's not? I assumed that it was.
He talks about them separately, and
But then he has a third one then, because he can, he can make he can make his gravity go towards like a wall. That's the same as making a rock go towards a wall, and it's the same as making himself.
One
go
of them
towards-
is just sticking. One of them is changing gravitational points. That's
I
what
thought it was gravitational pull, which is essentially what lashings do.
So does that mean that for Zeth, lashings are actually just his name for combining his two abilities? Sticking things and changing his perspective?
I suppose we'll see.
I'm thinking you're wrong, Jeff.
You could. I could be wrong.
Because what do you really think? Well, Zeth is also able to put a bunch of gravity into an item.
So
and have it stick against that door to make it.
Or have the door
yes.
make gravity come towards it.
I think that the two that Kaladin has are his ability to make bindings and his ability to change gravitation.
So lashings and bindings.
They're all considered lashings.
Then that's all one power.
I don't think so.
Not necessarily. So you
I don't
think
think so.
you think that
I think that it's
possibly
two. And that
lashings
means-
is
that
a
means that I think
singular
that
name
they're-
that combines the two powers.
So you don't understand the implication that I'm making. The implication that I'm making is that one. No. Listen.
It's 2 powers.
2 powers. Listen. The implication I'm making is that Knights Radiant all have an overlapping power.
Yeah.
So I think that there is an overlapping ability that has the ability to change gravitation. And I think there's another overlapping ability that has the ability to stick things together. Not changing gravity, to make a binding.
Just bind together, yeah.
A binding. It has to do with friction.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
So you think that Zeth and Kaladin are in the same order? That they both have the same
I think that
ability?
Zeth has the honor blade that the Windrunners were designed after. Because each honor blade is what each school was modeled after in terms of ability. That's what they indicated in the book. So I think that Zeth has the honor blade that is what Kaladin is in terms of Knights Radiant. And those two abilities, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. This is a theory. And the reason I say that is because there is a little bit later some information that I have that you don't, but it has nothing to do with Kaladin. It has to do with another little lady named Lift. But she has an ability that you'll find.
Yeah,
It's
let's not
totally
talk about that
different.
too much
Yeah.
because people might not be
Totally different.
caught up yet.
So, but what I think is, I think all the overlapping. So I think personally that Zeth may be able to do stuff on his own without an honor blade, but I don't know that for fact. But I think that his abilities may only slightly overlap Kaladin's in real life, if that's the case.
Well,
but he has the honor blade of Kaladin's.
Here's the
god.
thing: do you guys think that all of these are these abilities, or maybe there's an answer to this already? Are these abilities specifically tied to the fact that you have your honor blade out or your blade out?
We
'Cause I
know
know
that's
that-
not the case because Zeth uses it regularly.
He
when
sends
he
But you were
does
but you
blade.
were saying that potentially that his powers are not connected to his blade.
What I was saying is that the honor blade, being bound to his honor blade, will allow him to use these abilities.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But I think that if Zeth ends up having abilities of his own without an honor blade, that would be. I doubt that he's going to have an honor sprint.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Also,
so-
Even though he
I
seems
just wanna say
very
this, too.
honor bound, but not honorable.
But,
It's his own perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense in a strange way. That does make
Yeah.
sense.
yeah.
Hey, Dross, kill your video and go
Uh-huh.
straight audio. Kill your video and go straight audio. Let's see if
Oh.
we get you a little bit.
Okay, you got
We're
it.
having some. We hear you, but the quality of the.
Audio is bad.
Yeah.
But
It's pretty low.
in one of the chapters, in the little blurbs before the chapter begins, when they're talking
Interludes.
about the not the interludes.
The tiny little paragraphs or sentences.
okay. Yeah.
They're talking about all the different orders, and I'm pretty sure it's the Storm. That's Storm. Whatever Kaladin is. What is that, Jeff?
Wind
Storm-
Rider.
Wind Riders.
Wind
That they have abilities outside.
Windrunner. Right?
Runner.
Windrunner.
Thanks, Dross.
They have abilities outside the normal, what the spell gives them. And that's one of them. I thought they didn't really go into it, but I assumed that was like the Storm Riding actually.
We'll have to. You know what? I could be totally wrong. I'm just giving you all theory now. We're getting
I'm not
closer to
saying
where I am, right?
about the bindings, but the
Yeah.
Storm Riding.
You're right,
They,
though, it
they
could
had
be.
abilities outside the
Yeah.
normal other heralds, and they were considered like special.
Yeah.
So, being that you think that Zeth has the honor blade for the Radiant teaching or the
Herald.
class that Kaladin
Is it?
is in, do you think that Kaladin's going to end up killing Zeth and owning that blade?
Like that's gonna become Kaladin's
That's
blade.
gonna be cool.
I
Yeah.
think he's
don't-
gonna not kill Syl, but she's gonna like die like for him, like sacrifice herself and become his blade.
To be completely honest, as far as Zeth goes, I'm really confused and curious what direction Zeth goes now that he knows he's not
Not the
bound.
only one.
Well,
They called me truthless. They called me
he's now-
truthless. He's no longer bound by that stone
Well,
that anybody holds.
and-
Am I
Well,
correct?
well,
Or is
well,
that true?
You don't know that.
we don't know if
Yeah.
he's come to that realization
Depends on his
yet.
views.
On his views.
Yeah, so we know that he freaked out because he saw something and he thinks maybe his entire thing was wrong, but we don't know how he's gonna justify
But
that.
that could be a
know how-
crumbling
yeah.
of his entire world because everything he did was totally off of this. I have to do it because of my honor, but now all of a sudden, if that's gone, everything he's done is that on him. Is he going to be like, no, that's fine, it's acceptable
He has
because I was
nothing to
under...
justify all the killings
Yeah.
that he's done.
But
I think
it
he's-
could make him change to be better, or it could make him spiral out of control.
Be worse because now he has to either accept the fact that he did it himself or that he's honor bound to do it, and he's gonna fight to make it honor bound. It's been trying to be like
He's gonna find a reason to make his actions
Justified.
justified.
Thank
Right,
you.
right.
And that could make him evil.
Yeah.
So, Dross, what do you think?
I'm gonna
fancy
be
all
truthful
them
with you
dictionaries.
guys right now. I actually did not read part 3. I thought we were only going.
Wait, this is part 2
I
still.
was wondering why you got so quiet.
This is part 2, I thought.
Yeah,
don't know.
I messed up.
I forget where this is.
No, this is
all over.
I don't think this is part 2 because I finished part 2. I read up to part 3, and
Ooh.
I don't. I didn't read any of part 3.
Well, enjoy those spoilers. By the way, Paladin
Yeah.
dies.
Yeah.
So wait, Dross, what did part 2 end on?
Oh my god.
What did part 2 end on?
This is the best.
Let me look back in my notes real quick. Let's see. Pretty much the last section that I got to. You guys already passed the last section that I read.
All right, buddy. Well, I'm gonna have to say that we're probably gonna have to cut you off then because I don't want to ruin it for you.
Yeah, we don't want to ruin it. Here's actually what I think.
All right, no problem.
Here's what I think we should do.
It might be a little late.
What we probably should do is we should have Dross catch up over the next 2 weeks because we have a shorter reading.
Well, we do. Sorry, Andrew.
Yeah,
I mean, we
I've
should
got
just
a
cut them
lot
off
of reading to do.
because we've already covered things that are in part 3. We might as well just finish this part.
Yeah, no,
Not
we're
right now.
we're actually at the end of the episode. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we're at a good spot. So we could well we'll do strategy real quick, but let's finish part 2.
Okay.
So what I want to know is what did Andrew's last segment that he gave?
Okay, what was your last segment?
Wasn't it Shalon
Pretty
riding in
much
camp?
what you guys like just stopped talking about.
Okay.
It was. It ended at
where
that
Zeph
battle,
goes
right?
in and yeah.
Oh, you're good. You're good. So
Yeah.
we're on par. We're
Ish,
gonna finish
yeah.
this particular situation up because the end of part 2, the Zeth flies off.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That's how it ends.
Yeah, we're
basically.
talking about basically
Yeah.
almost the last
So
thing
we're
you read,
good.
probably.
We're like at
Yeah.
perfect. We're at a perfect spot. So
Okay.
so
Okay.
what we need to get is what do we think about Zeth running off like we were just talking about? And he has maybe broken his honor stone. He said something, right? He goes, they called me truthless
Yeah.
when he saw Kaladin heal his
freaking
arm.
out.
Right? He healed his arm. So what do you guys think? Like, is he gonna? He's gonna go away. Ben just said that he's.
I don't think we
go
should.
either way.
I don't
could
think
go
we
either.
should make a Brett bet on this just because I think that the only way that we're going to know the true meaning of this Brett bet is either if Zeth dies at some point or on the last book. But I think he's going to go through some very challenging times. But I think eventually, hopefully, because I kind of like him even though he's a piece of
Well, he's not trying to be a piece of shit. but-
Exactly. I kind of like him, even though he's done some terrible things. I hope that he ends up on the right side. So I think he's going to end up on the right side, but I don't want to take a Brett bet on it just because it'll go on till he's dead or book 10 or
right.
whatever the last book is.
Dross, part 2. You're still on part 2. We haven't exceeded it, so it's perfect. But
Yeah.
you got to get any last.
Where do you think
Thoughts?
Zeth's going to go from here, Dross?
Any last stuff that we got, man.
Oh man, I I don't know. He certainly can't go back to Taravangian because he's kind of
Right? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think he would go back to continue serving.
What if he just like goes back and kills all of the people that made him do all that stuff? They called me truthless. He just chops him in half.
But he also mentions the fact, like, are they all back?
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe he's gonna kind of find a way to justify it and be like, "Oh, this is something different. It's not what it was," and he's gonna convince himself of that so he can keep
I
fighting.
hope so.
See, the thing is, though, is that there is the potential that he could completely justify this to himself if he can prove that they're all back. Because then he can go back to the point of origin and say, see, I'm not truthless. This is all on you.
Right.
Everything I did is on you. So he could potentially be an ally to Dalinar, who I still think unite them all does not mean
Just the
Alethkar.
Alethkar.
I think it means the Heralds. So if he can help Dalinar potentially bring them all together, then he would say, see, I am not truthless. This is all on you. And maybe that's how he justifies it to himself.
Yeah.
But he seems like too good of a killer to do that.
I don't know. I think that he's going to struggle the opposite way. I think that he's going to struggle with the fact that he might have been right in his reality, and now he has to struggle with the guilt of what he's done.
Right.
And I think he'll come hard.
I think the opposite's gonna happen. Is he's gonna
Of which one?
he's gonna push against it, and he's gonna try and be like, no, I still am truthless, and this is all an illusion that's trying to like test my faith or test my resolve, and I can't go back on it. I have to stay even more steadfast now.
Right.
This is tough, man. And I think that we are about at the end.
Yeah.
So I think we should leave it at part 2.
Yeah, we should leave it at Zen.
Solid part 2 at Zeth. Not Zen. Zen was a little child who died in the beginning by getting stabbed in the leg.
That was Sen.
God damn it. So
The child of Zeth and Zen and Sen is Zen.
we got a lot to talk about. We've got part 3 to talk about soon.
baby.
So we will, in this case, put a close to this particular episode. And again, thanks for joining us at Lit Literature. Again, this is your host, the Demon. Online from sunny Arizona,
Who will not be with us
accidentally-
next
who
episode.
accidentally skipped part 3.
Right, I will be.
Gotta finish the book now.
Yeah.
Who accidentally skipped part 3, but will be back in action with lots of goodies. Captain, any comments you want to make?
That's it.
Worth the wait.
Yes.
I'm just gonna be truthful with you guys. I didn't read part 3.
Somebody to
So
do
for the
their
first,
homework.
so for the first 2 hours of that episode, you were Zeth the Truthless, and then suddenly out of nowhere, you became Andrew the Truthful.
Right. I found the truth.
We got Cherry here with the rosy cheeks.
Josh Armstrong, Cherry.
Yeah, baby. Send all complaints to josharmstrong@yahoo.com. I hope you don't really have that email address.
Yep. Any comments? Nothing?
None.
Got Brett Lee Williams, the director,
Director? Any
back
comments?
from LA. I'm here in the actual room for the very first few episodes.
Back in Chicagoland?
I know you guys just listened to this episode last week, but that was my first episode back in Chicagoland. BrettWilliams.com, BrettWilliamsFilm.com, BWilliamsFilm on Twitter.
Manny?
Yes, Aim the Dream coming to you live from
New York.
New York.
Saturday night.
Lies.
Truthless. I'm a truthless.
All right. Well, we'll catch you guys next episode, huh?
All right, folks.
Bye.
Cheers. Cheers.